Here you can see everything that we need to create our magical sanding board. Everything that you will need is a board like this. In this case that's MDF, not too big, maybe 10 inches by 3 or so. Then we will need some two-sided tape like this one here. This is actually pretty strong, it's from Tesa. And then we will need to have an assortment of these sanding papers that you see over here. In this case, I have a selection that ranges from, I think that's a 100 grain, that's a 200 grain, this is a 400 grain, 600 grain, 1000 grain, and 1200 grain. From my experience, this is all that you need for our modeling purposes. They are getting finer and finer with every step. The higher the number, the more fine the grain. One thing that you should keep in mind is that there are different types of these sanding papers. So some are for wood and others are for example, metals. We will use this assortment here. Then obviously we will need to have a trusty hobby knife like this one here and the metallic ruler here, this one. Of course, if we want to do some sanding, we will need to have a good mask. This one here is quite okay. It's against the dust particles with a little valve here. You can also find some that are more simple and you can find some that are more complex. So in the long run, it's good to buy yourself a really good one. I recommend the ones from M3, I think is the name. They have like an active coal filter built inside. That should work out fine and you will be able to find it in any hardware store. This surface here has to be very flat and very smooth, more or less. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's better that way. And then we will have to choose the assortment of sanding paper that we want to put on that. We will put these papers somehow a little bit like this, and we will glue it to the board. We will also use this ledge here to bend that down. This is something that's quite useful, especially if you have something that is more like that has a 90 degree, more or less 90 degree angle that you want to file. Something like that will come in really handy. These usually come in bigger sheets. I have just cut it into squares to make it more small, but the thing is that the angle here is not perfectly fine, and actually we need a really nice angle. So we will go and use our little cutting mat here. It's very useful because this one has lines already on it, so we know without having to measure too much if the line is more or less straight. So this one here looks quite good, but we will still cut a little bit down to be sure. Alright, and also this side here too. Okay, like this. And we will do the same with the other ones. Alright, it's a little bit smaller. Okay, so now we have cut the sheets. I will choose a range which I will need for the job that I have to sand down. And usually it's good to have something that starts at 200, then 400, and then 600 grain. So it will look a little bit like this. 1, 2, 3. If you need to sand down something really rough, you can use a much rougher paper like this one here at first. And if you need to finish it up to really nearly like a shine polish, you can use the 1000 or 1200 grain. I think maybe we can smuggle in a little strip of 1000 in here. Okay, now we take our double-sided tape here. Make sure that it is overlapping, like bigger than the wooden piece that you have. And also here it's important that it overlaps quite a bit because we want to go around the corner, right? So we place it and then we push it down here, and then we push it down and just bend it over like that. You see? Next step. And the last one goes in here. Now we can put it on this side here and really quickly remove the excessive tape. Now you see, like this, it has this little edge. So now we remove the paper. Oops, like that. Okay, now comes the challenge to put this on here in a nice angle, but I usually do it like this. And then I push it back here. Actually already sanding down some of my hand. So, there you see. Okay, and now if you want to do it like perfectly, you can go here with your knife again and cut the overlapping sandpaper up here. And now you might wonder why we have these 4 types of sanding paper on here. Usually when we will be sanding, it will be these bases that consist of different layers of different materials. And the problem that we have sometimes is that this overlaps here, and we need to get rid of that, and in order to create these really nice, like cutouts that you can see also here. You know, this is just perfect little cut. It's really good to have a sandpaper that is rough to get rid of a lot of material first, and then to progress on the board more and more to the finer paper to give it like a really shiny finish. So now I will put on my mask. For the first sanding, you will have to be very, very careful and also turn it around from time to time. And you see, for the beginning, I am staying in this area here because this is like the rougher sand. So this takes away the most material. And I use this little ledge here to also get rid of the dust. Just a little bit. It's better to just like always also do one go, like one direction, and not go back and forth necessarily, because that will create a little less even finish. And now I'm sanding on the 200 grain, for example, and are going up to the 400 grain. So the result will already be better. And your fingers are very, very precise in feeling everything that might be uneven. So it's really good to just touch with your fingers, and just like you will feel every little dent. And when there is a little dent that you can feel, then you can go and sand it a little bit more. It's also good to have a little brush nearby, so you can quickly just like wipe off the dust that goes in everywhere, basically. Same goes for the board. If the board is too dirty, you can just take this whole board, put it in your trash bag, for example, and then just wipe off the dust inside of the trash bag, so you can free the little grains of sand of the dust that is everywhere now. And this will really help us to keep this usable for a longer time. If you want to create a really, really smooth surface, you will just at the end just like stay up here, and also use the whole length of your sanding paper. Don't just use the middle. You have all the space here available, so it really doesn't make any sense to just use a little portion of that. Yeah, but here you can already see it really starts to make a perfect result here, and without a big machine or anything, without a lot of noise, for nearly free. You just need some really, really simple elements. Okay, and this is all that you need to know about the magic sanding board. There are no big secrets. It's something very simple and I would say homemade. It's really as useful as owning a big machine. And you can also use a much bigger piece of wood like that. And on here you can also make your own zoning. For example, you could do something that is in a square. It is really good if you do that. If you have a big board and you forget which grain was which one, then you can write it down here, for example, besides here or directly on the paper, although it would be better to have it on the wood because you will be rubbing this away if you put it on the top. Maybe you could also write it here on the ledge, so that way nothing will happen. All right. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you have learned something new. I really hope to see you on my other Patreon videos. Thank you very much for listening.